Hi, my name is Dave Bode from JoeBono.com, bringing you this video exclusively for AudioTutsPlus.com. In this tutorial, we're going to explore together how to work with some samples. And I was just experimenting the other day, and I thought it would be cool to kind of record a whole bunch of samples and experiment what we could do with those. So we're going to do a couple of things in this project. The first thing that we're going to do is figure out how to deal with some longer samples, kind of slice it up, and then preparing those to load in a sample player in which we will load multi-layer samples. What I mean by that is we're going to create a virtual instrument, which is going to be a sample player, and that's going to play back samples that I've recorded here. And we are going to organize those in such a way so that when we play a key on the keyboard, we're going to map a quieter sample to a quieter velocity layer on the same key. So for this example right here, I have 3 tracks recorded. One, I was doing a little bit with a snare drum. The second, I was recording some different shaker sounds. And the third, I was doing some with some cymbals. Right now, we're going to focus on the shaker. And let me play a little bit of what we got here. You can see this is a pretty long clip here. So you can see I have a whole bunch of samples. I'm using a metal shaker here with it's got some kind of metal beads in it, and it's like an aluminum shaker. And then in the back part of this, I have a plastic shaker. It's made by Rhythm Tech, called the Rhythm Tech Studio. And so this has a different timbre. So what I did was I didn't really know exactly what I was looking for, and I was trying to record a whole bunch of different samples so we could chop stuff up in here. So what I want to do first is identify kind of ranges in here that sound very similar. So I experimented with playing the shaker in different ways and kind of holding it in different ways in relationship to the microphone. So you know what we'll do here? First, we'll work with the studio shaker. Let me just split this and flip these around. I'm going to turn off the grid lines so that it's not going to snap to the grid anymore. And we're working in Reaper here, but the things that we're doing here are going to be applicable to just about any DAW. And the reason that I'm going to work with the studio shaker sound first is because the metal shaker has some changes in timbre. Because it's metal, it's slightly affected, the kind of resonance that it makes is slightly affected by how you're holding it. So throughout this clip, you can actually hear some kind of puffs of air as I get the shaker a little bit too close to the microphone. So what I want to do here is kind of look at some of these and kind of identify some similar sounding patches here. And you look at some stuff where we can grab some different velocity samples. So some soft stuff and some loud stuff. We'll just kind of deal with it here. I'm going to make a new track here and throw it down here. What I'm going to do is cut the samples out and pull them down here so we can have a fresh track to look at. I'll kind of preview the samples, and then I'll just hit S to slice them out. Here what I have is I have kind of a forward shake and then a back shake, which is quieter and also longer. So I'm going to grab a bunch of these, pull them down here. Oh, you know what? Those are going to sound a little bit different. All right, so we have kind of, these are all the longer ones right here. Check these out. And you know what? I'll put that, I'm going to put a little EQ here with a high pass here. It's going to help clean that up. And that one I don't think is usable. Okay, so those are all a little bit longer. I'm going to keep searching here, see if I can find some more that are similar. I don't know if I've found some ones here, but I've come to another section here where we can find some different sounds here. Okay, I like this. All right, so I'm gonna start slicing these out as well. I like that one. That's a good one. That's a good. Ooh, hey, that's a good one. Good. Good. It's probably pretty good. Good. That's great. That should be pretty close. And let's just check out what these sound like right here. All right, not bad. I'm gonna see if I can find just a couple more that are just these little kind of longer ones. All right, these ones will probably work pretty good. And some of those sound like the attack is a little bit funny, but we're gonna edit those up and clean them up just nice. All right, so let's look at what we have here. Slide these over. I'm gonna solo this, kind of punch in on here. That one doesn't really match, so I'll move that over here. Let's deal with these ones right here. What I want to do is get rid of that first part, so we just have the attack, and then kind of fade the end just a little bit. Good, just like that. That's all we want. So we're just gonna scooch that up here. Good, good, just like that. And so we'll edit these down just like that. So let's see what we have here. Make sure they all sound pretty similar. All right, that's pretty close. We want to kind of put them in order and find out which one's louder. That one sounds like it's a harder attack, so we're going to move that towards the end. Maybe we'll adjust the amplitude here. That one also sounds like it's got a nice good attack too. We'll put that at the end. We'll kind of put the kind of duller attack ones more towards the beginning here. Those do sound exactly the same. No, they're not. One's a little bit pitchier than the other one. After a couple minutes of fiddling here, I've organized these here from quietest to loudest, and I've adjusted the amplitude of a couple of these to get them to sound right. A couple of these ones with a harder attack were actually quieter, but that's going to work better if they are actually the louder ones in our group here. So if you watch the meter here, I've also changed the display to big meter. Each one of these will incrementally get a little bit louder. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to save these out. You know, the easiest thing probably to do here, so I'm going to create another track. I'm going to copy these down, pull them over here, and then I'm going to just make something look like this. I'm going to solo this track right here. And I'm going to make a new folder here. We'll call these shaker FW _1 because it's going to be the quietest one here. And we'll change this to time selection. It's going to be really, really short. We'll just leave this at 48 and 24 because that's what we recorded at, and that's fine. And also we can leave these as mono, and there we go. Now, because I copied those, I can just delete that one. I'll slide it back, and then I will just adjust the endpoint here, and I'll render the next one. And I'll put this one as 2. I'll grab the next one here, get that one in the line here. And we probably don't even need it that long. That's fine. Make this one 3. Good. Delete it. Same thing for this one. I'll just trim it up. 4. Boom. Done. It's going to be 5. Got it. This is going to be 6. This will be 7. All right, we still have them up here just as a backup there. So now what I'm going to do is offline, I'm going to go and do the same thing and find some other sounds, and then we'll jump back and we will look at how to blow these up into a sampler. All right, here's my folder here where I have saved all those files to. I've rendered them all out, trimmed up, nice and party. And there's about 100 little files in here, 95, I think. So let's get these working here in a sample player. So let's jump into Reaper here. I have a new project open. And we're going to use a VST plugin called Shortcircuit. So I'm going to go down here and make a new virtual instrument. Now there's a new version of Shortcircuit. It's called Shortcircuit 2, but I don't really like that one as much. It's a little bit wonky. I like the original. And it says, do you want to make 16 tracks? Sure. Here's what it builds. We have a main track here, and then it sets up the routing for 8 stereo returns. So let's jump in here. Here's the plugin here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hit the load button, and we have a little open window dialog here. I have a couple of different samples. Now, I didn't extract all of the samples, but I got enough to get us going for sure. So let's take a look at these right here. These right here, Shaker FW stands for forward, and then I've named them 1 through 12 in order of the quietest to the loudest. All right, so we got those. They're all right here. And you can see those all right here. Now, there's not a great way to preview these, I don't think, except by playing the keys here, because they are all mapped. If we hit multi here, you can see that it's mapped to this C1 right here. Those all map themselves to some keys initially, but what we want to do is make them all on the same key and kind of split up the velocities so that we get a nice range of velocities in there. Now we could play them just like this. So we could do that. And actually what I'll do here is I'm going to shift click and select all of these. And then I'm going to click right here and I'm going to change this to forward shot. And this is basically just going to play the sample. See, because before it was on forward, and as soon as you let go of the key, the sample stops. But we don't want that. We want the whole sample to play. We can get a pretty reasonable shaker sound just with that right there. And we hear a little bit of repetitive things in there, but it's not too bad. I mean, we have 12 samples to work with. Now, one thing that this plugin does is that when you load a sample, it kind of does some velocity mapping all on its own. See, it goes from basically 30 decibels lower. So if we take this Shaker 12 here, which is right here, this is the loudest one that we have. That right there is the loudest that we're going to be able to play this. But we can also play it a little bit quieter. And this will kind of scale the velocity or the volume of the playback back for us. That's not something that we want to do because we pretty much want these to be the velocity layers. We have these, mapped just a little bit, so we can shift click, select them all. Then we can double click right here and just select 0. And now this is only just going to play. It doesn't matter how hard we hit the key really light, and it's just going to fire the thing. And that's fine because these lower ones, these are a little bit lower, and you can come back here and adjust these individually if you want, and that's totally fine. We're going to hit multi again, and we can use these little arrow keys here to kind of zoom up on this and get us a little more room. We're going to take the first shaker sample here, and we want this to have a maximum velocity of 12. So we're going to click it and then drag it down so it's on 12. And then we want the next one here to be from 13 to 24. Just like that. And then the next one's going to be 25. Right there, you can see it's telling you right here, right now, this sample has a velocity of 25 to 127. So if we were trying to play this right here, it's only going to kick in when the key is struck at a velocity of 25 or greater. So if I hit the key really light, you can see we get a mini message here. Nothing's happening though, until I ramp it up a little more. And we want this to have a maximum value of 36. Yes. In fact, I have made a critical error. These should all be a little bit less. My math didn't work out quite right. So we'll make these all about 10. Maybe we'll make every other one 11. Something like that. They don't have to be exactly perfectly even, that's for sure. And in some cases, you may want some of these to have maybe a little bit greater of a range, depending on what kind of samples you might be working with. There we go. We'll just kind of eyeball it there. All right, so now we have all these, but they're still spread out on different keys. So what we can do, so we'll click on one of the samples here, then we'll shift click and we'll select all of the samples. Then we'll hit this button right here, it says learn all, boom. And then we'll just hit a key. So I'm gonna hit F. There we go. So now they're all programmed to this F right here. And I have my keyboard transposed, but it should be F1 somewhere in that neighborhood. Cool, so that's gonna be one part of our sound. I'm gonna load the other one. See, that was shaker forward. So I'm gonna go and load the shaker back right here. This is another 9 samples, but as you can see, I didn't save even numbers of each one of these, and that's totally fine, because what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of space these out over 9 different velocity layers. And so we can do like 127 divided by 9 is about 14 or so. So we can make the first one 14. Just like before, what we can do is we'll click back here, we'll say select all those, we'll hit learn all, and we'll hit G, so now we have F, which is all those, and then we have G, which is these guys. Now, we didn't do a couple of things on this one. For one, we need to make sure we have these all selected and zero out the velocity sensitivity. We also need to change these to forward shot. So now we have this kind of thing. Now, some of these may not sound like they're firing right away. Like that one, 9 right there, that seems like we could trim it up. What we can do here is we can just select the sample and then we can grab the front end of it and kind of just pull it over to where it looks like the wave is starting there. And it must be when I saved this sample, I may have not dialed in on right where we're starting. And you'll hear that for some of those. And so we can fix that a little bit. And then down here under amplitude, you can adjust the attack here. You can hear that there. And so we can just give it a little tiny bit of a curve. And then right here, this actually changes the curve. I think when it's on 0, it's just kind of a linear thing. But if we pull it to negative, it kind of makes like a little curve up. So that's pretty good. And we'll just double check that all these are buttoned up just a little bit. Scooch these up just a little bit, tighten them up just a hair. I do have a bunch of different samples loaded. Now these are kind of like a more slow start. So, you know, we don't have to worry so much about getting those perfect right there. That one was a little bit weird and that one's a little bit weird too. And we'll get it kind of just like that. There we go. And then we'll just double check these guys. These are all maybe just a hair back a little bit. What it looks like. So you just scoot these up just a hair. Now those are definitely more on the attack of the key. And the cool part about having a lot of different samples at our disposal here is that we can kind of do a poor man's round robin, if you will. Once we record a pattern, we can go in and just randomize the velocities a little bit, and that'll trigger different samples. Because these samples don't have a great difference in dynamics. Some of them actually have a little bit less. So let me load up a couple more here. Here's one, I think it's a shaker short maybe. Let's go to multi, and this has 10, so that'll be pretty easy to map out here. Now I did name all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which helps when you import them because they kind of show up in that order. There we go. Select all these. We'll change these to forward shot. 0. We'll hit learn all and make those all A. So these are all nice and short. That one might need to be tidied up just a hair. And so now we have a short one in there in the mix too. So I'll continue to build this out and then I'll jump back and I'll show you what I have when I'm all done here. All right, now I have all of these loaded in here. I'll jump back to the multi-view so you can see. And the last couple I just kind of eyeballed where the velocities go. It's not critical. But you got them all loaded in here and they go from F up to F here. So we got. And as we were talking about before at the beginning of this, most of these are actually that plastic studio shaker. I did extract a couple of samples from the metal shaker. That's this higher pitch one right here. We have some shakers going forward. We have some shakers going back. It was softer there. And we have some short shakes. That's these. And we have some super short shakes. I had some kind of triplet pattern I was playing. So I extracted each one of those, and I had one of those was, I think the first one was 12 samples, the second one was 12 samples, and the third one was 11 samples. So that's this right here. And all these are pretty close in dynamic range, from the quietest sample in each one of these groups to the loudest sample. It's probably not more than maybe 10 decibels. So it doesn't give you a lot of dynamic range here. Here's the first part of that little triplet thing. And here's the louder ones right here. That's the quietest one. That's the loudest one. So it's not a lot of range there, but we can go back and adjust the sensitivity if we wanted to, and that'll kind of track those, kind of scale the velocities on those samples even more if we wanted to. But I think those are fine now. And then we got the metal shaker up here. There you go. Now, a couple of things that we can do once we have this all kind of put together here. We can take groups of these. So we can take the forward one, and maybe we can throw it a little bit to one side, maybe the left here. Or all the way left. Okay, that's actually right. And we can take these, the back shakers, put those all the way to this side. So now we get... And you can even go crazy and put each one of these every other one. So we have, and then take these ones. Those all positive. And now we have, I'm not really sure that that's cool. What I might do is maybe take these ones, the forward ones, maybe put those over here. Actually, maybe like -50. And then take these and put them at +50, something like that. Just to give them a little bit of stereo image. The short ones, I might make these a little bit more drastic. So these SH stands for shaker short. Maybe put these all the way to one side. And then these super shorts, which there are actually 18 samples of. Not really sure why I thought that was a good idea. So we can come up with some cool stuff like that. And then we have our little triplet thing here. We can start that first. TH, it stands for 3 actually. So we have TH and then THR. So we'll take the THs, put those right here. And we'll leave the THRs in the middle, and then we'll take THREs and we can put those all over here. So then we get this. You know, something wacky like that. We can also adjust the outputs of these groups as well. So we can take all the metal shakers and say, we actually want these to come out on output 5 and 6. Now, if we look over in Reaper, we get that going on there too, which is pretty cool. And we can actually take these too. It might be cool to give these a little bit more kind of stereo effect by doing something like this. Maybe putting these, I don't know, +50. We'll take the other ones here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. -50. And that gives them even just a little bit more kind of random feel to them. And that way we can compress them different, and we can route them differently, add some different effects to them if you wanted to. So we could take, you know, all the triplet ones here. And probably should have named these a little bit better. So all the TH through THRE, and we can send those to 3 and 4. Let's change the super shorts. The shorts and the super shorts, which does sound ridiculous. We can put those maybe on 7 and 8. So we have that forward and back here. And then we have the super shorts here. We may have a couple of velocity overlaps in there. I'd have to go back and check because it looks like we're peaking out and we shouldn't be. That's not the hugest deal in the world. You know, that's pretty easy to fix. We can just go back and look at those there. So in a relatively short amount of time, we have a ton of really cool sounding samples. And I didn't even pick, I didn't even go through all of the samples. There's a lot more kind of slow shakes in there and some different sounds from the metal shaker that we could have incorporated. And so we can get like a really huge library out of just a couple of minutes of setting up a condenser microphone in my office here, doing some shakes right in front of it. And because I was pretty close to the microphone, you know, I was within 3 or 4 inches, you can get a nice clean sound without a lot of room reflection because you get that real nice signal to noise ratio there. And, you know, in just a couple of minutes of kind of sampling it and playing around with it, I got a nice little sample library here that you can mix and match. And so in upcoming tutorials, we'll use this sample pack. We can save these. We can select all these tracks and say save tracks as template. And we can just call this Super Shaker. And if we need to load another one, let's see if this will work for us. Boom, right here. Look at that. It's all set up and ready to go. We can modify it, save it as a new track template, and there you go. So I'll make some of these samples available for you so you can get this going and check this out and get a nice little sample library going for your very own. So we'll check out some more sampling with this plugin and using some other samples that I recorded and some cool projects in the future. Thanks so much for checking out this tutorial. Again, my name is Dave Bode from JoeBono.com, bringing you this tutorial exclusively for AudioTutsPlus.com, and we'll see you around. Thanks so much for watching.